My name was Amir Al-Mahd. I was a state prosecutor in Chicago, a guardian of the law, molded by my Islamic faith and the traditions that bound my community. I wore my title with pride, disciplined and respected. Yet, beneath the polished exterior, I was hollow, haunted by an emptiness I couldn't articulate, lost in the very shadow of my own existence. I was suffocating in silence, struggling with voices I dared not acknowledge. Then came the moment that shattered everything. An accident, a flash of darkness, and the unsettling veil of death drew me in. In the depths of that abyss, a court formed around me. Not a court of men, but a spiritual tribunal. In the heart of the darkness, he appeared. Jesus, calling my name with authority that transcended my fears and the shackles of my conditioning. He illuminated the war that had been waged against my spirit through the guise of faith, revealing that the very beliefs I upheld were used as instruments of control against me. What I witnessed shattered my long-held convictions. I understood the depths of deception that had been woven into the very fabric of my community, and the political structures surrounding it. I had been a pawn in a game much larger than myself, navigating the treacherous waters of faith without ever questioning the captain at the helm. For the first time, the truth pierced through. I wasn't serving God, but a system designed to confine my spirit, suppress my questions, and stifle my truth. But awakening brings its own set of trials. Upon returning to consciousness, I was met with the cold stares of family, the whispers of betrayal from friends who had once celebrated me. A dissonance formed within me, caught between the light of revelation and the shadows of rejection. They labeled me heretic, traitor, a far cry from the honor I once commanded. Yet a fierce determination ignited within me. I could no longer remain silent. So here I stand, compelled to share this extraordinary journey with you. In a time when many are trapped in spiritual darkness, my story beckons for courage. For in every heartbeat lies an urgency for liberation, a call to those yearning for truth, beyond the confines of tradition. I am not the only one shattering chains. There is a growing wave of awakening sweeping across the world, urging souls toward the horizon of faith. As we embark on this journey together, I invite you to engage. Where are you watching from, and what time is it now? Your voice is vital, let it be heard. And if you love Jesus as I do, subscribe now to Truth from Beyond. For what unfolds next is not merely a narrative, it's a revelation destined to transform lives. Join me, and let's illuminate the darkness together. In a Chicago courtroom, I found myself navigating a world steeped in legal and religious traditions. My name is Amir Al-Mahd, and as a 35-year-old Muslim state prosecutor, I was dedicated to my role with a fierce commitment to justice. Yet, amid the solemnity of my surroundings, where strict adherence to Islamic law is revered, I felt a growing sense of trepidation. Doubt had begun to creep into my heart, whispering insidiously, challenging the very foundation of my beliefs. In this environment, any expression of uncertainty was met with disdain, leaving me feeling isolated and constrained. As I stood before the judge and jury, preparing to present my case, the intensity of the moment wrapped around me like a shroud. The eyes of my colleagues bore down on me, their expectations suffocating. I recalled my upbringing, where questioning authority was not just frowned upon, but perceived as an affront to faith. I had worn the badge of my profession proudly, yet the weight of my internal conflict felt like a heavy mantle I could no longer support. The strain of balancing my responsibilities with the burgeoning doubts regarding the authenticity of my faith loomed large. One fateful evening, during what should have been a routine drive home, my life took a sharp turn. Distracted by my racing thoughts about the cases I handled and the emotional turmoil I faced, I lost control of my car. In that instant, as the world around me spun into chaos, darkness enveloped me, and I slipped away from consciousness. Instead of the cold grip of the ground, I floated into an astonishing void filled with light. It was in this ethereal space that I encountered Jesus, who became the beacon guiding me through my own personal reckoning. In that moment, the atmosphere shifted. Jesus' presence radiated warmth and compassion, breaking through the walls I had built around my heart. He spoke my name, Amir, and the sound reverberated with love and understanding that felt both foreign and familiar. As he stirred within me, profound revelations surged forth. I was shown the deeper truths behind the spiritual war we are all part of, how the elite manipulate both politics and spirituality to maintain power over the masses. The hidden agendas I had sensed in the courtroom now flared into glaring clarity. I recognized that the laws I devoted my life to were often intertwined with deception, serving the interests of a few while leaving the many in oblivion. The deceptions did not just end with the law. They seeped into the fabric of our society, fostering division and strife among communities that could otherwise stand united. Families torn apart by conflicting beliefs were now visible to me, and the urgency of Jesus' message filled my spirit with a new fire. I yearned not just for my own awakening, but to share these revelations with those around me, to enlighten others who were trapped in cycles of fear and ignorance. The power of truth suddenly felt vital. I realized that navigating this newfound path would require immense courage, especially in a world where questioning the status quo is often met with hostility. As I returned to consciousness, my heart was heavy with the knowledge I had received. I knew that embracing this new perspective would not be without consequences. The fear of rejection from my family and colleagues loomed large in my mind. Yet despite that unease, a conviction sparked to life within me, a determination to stand for the truth that I had discovered in the light of Jesus. I was prepared for the fight ahead, ready to address the spiritual war that surrounded us, to help others break free from the chains of deception, and to find a way to reconcile this journey with the faith I had once known. The battle for my soul and those of my community was just beginning. Despite my position as a respected pillar of the community, I find myself grappling with an emotional void that has haunted me for far too long. I'm Amir, a state prosecutor in Chicago, and while I've dedicated my life to the pursuit of justice, an unsettling burden weighs heavily on my heart. Day after day, I walk into the courtroom, donning my professional mask, exuding the confidence expected of me. Yet behind that facade, I feel suffocated by the very norms that have defined my existence. My role demands adherence to traditions and practices that clash with my increasingly restless inner truth, leaving me feeling disciplined yet emotionally suppressed. The dissonance grew louder each passing day, particularly during moments of reflection, like when I kneel in prayer, seeking clarity and guidance. Instead of finding solace, I often encounter that same void, a reminder of my struggles and uncertainties. I question the validity of the beliefs I had held so dearly for so long. Each time I utter the familiar words, they feel tinged with doubt and desperation. How can I serve justice when I feel so disconnected from my own identity? It's as if I'm living a life dictated by external expectations, while my spirit aches for authenticity and acknowledgement. The turning point arrived unexpectedly during a particularly demanding week. I was involved in a trial that had gripped the community's attention, surrounded by whispers of corruption and manipulation. On the surface, the case seemed straightforward, yet behind it lay layers of hidden agendas tied to the elite pulling the strings, orchestrating a narrative that benefited only them. As I contemplated these truths, a sudden accident on the way home plunged me into darkness. I lost consciousness, only to awaken in a realm beyond this world. In that otherworldly realm, I encountered Jesus, whose presence radiated an unexplainable peace. His voice, calm and reassuring, cut through the chaos of my mind. "Amir," he said, and in that moment I felt a profound sense of connection. He began to unravel the layers of my doubt, revealing the spiritual war we all face. He showed me how deception infiltrates our minds, how the elite manipulate beliefs and exploit fear for control. The revelation struck me like lightning, Everything I had once taken for granted now seemed blurred and twisted by the hidden agenda of those in power, systems designed to uphold a status quo that suffocated authentic belief. As Jesus unfolded these truths, I felt both liberated and terrified. The weight of knowing the reality before me was almost too much to bear. I was shown visions of communities divided by misinformation, family bonds severed by blind obedience to oppressive traditions. The urgency to awaken and reclaim our truth surged within me. I realized that my silence was complicity in the very deception I had suffered under. I needed to return to my life with this profound understanding, to share my revelations and help others navigate the labyrinth of their own spiritual wars. The challenge ahead felt daunting, but I was no longer willing to live in the shadows. With Jesus guiding me, I was resolute in my mission to awaken the spirits around me and bring light to the darkness of deception that had kept us bound for too long. Doubts began to surface during my prayers, plunging me into a deeper existential crisis that I could no longer ignore. My name is Amir Al-Mahd, and as a state prosecutor in Chicago, I had devoted my life to the pursuit of justice, but the weight of my responsibilities became increasingly burdensome. Each time I bowed my head in prayer, what should have been a moment of connection instead turned into a reflection of my growing discontent. The words felt hollow on my tongue, and I found myself questioning the very traditions that had once given me purpose. As these feelings escalated, I started experiencing enigmatic dreams that shook the foundations of my understanding. In these visions, I wandered through a labyrinth filled with shadows, each turn revealing fragments of confusion and despair. I felt disconnected from my faith, witnessing how political and religious ideologies intertwined, often serving as tools of social control rather than vehicles of genuine spiritual growth. The realization was jarring. Could it be that the teachings I had held dear were merely masks hiding a deeper agenda? Amidst this torment, I encountered Jesus in a dream, his presence piercing through the darkness that enveloped me. "Amir," he said softly, and instantly I felt the tension in my heart ease. With a compassion that transcended understanding, he began to share revelations that illuminated the hidden layers of deception surrounding our world. I saw powerful figures wielding their influence, manipulating faith to enforce obedience rather than encourage love and understanding. The truth struck me deeply, igniting a fire within, a yearning to challenge the narratives that had confined so many souls to despair. I learned that the spiritual war we are all caught in is not merely a personal struggle. It's a vast battle for consciousness. I witnessed the ways in which fear is cultivated to maintain control over the masses, how divisive rhetoric tears at the fabric of our communities. I saw how wars, both declared and silent, ravaged lives and sowed discord among families and nations. My heart ached for those caught in the vicious cycle of deception, wandering without the guidance of authentic belief. When I finally awoke, the weight of my experience settled heavily upon me. This awakening demanded that I act, to share what I had learned, and to confront the forces that shrouded us in darkness. Though the fear of alienation lingered, especially from my family who adhered so tightly to tradition, I felt the vigor of purpose pulsing within me. I resolved to become a voice for truth, to help others discern the hidden agendas that perpetuated their struggles. In a world desperate for light, I knew I had to stand bold, ready to fight against the deception that had stifled countless spirits, and to ignite an awakening that could change the course of our shared reality. My life took a dramatic turn one fateful evening when I found myself caught in a horrific car accident. I am Amir, a state prosecutor in Chicago, and that night was supposed to be just another routine commute home. Instead, I felt the universe shift beneath me as my car collided with another vehicle, plunging me into darkness. As I lost consciousness, a sudden stillness enveloped me. No pain, no fear, just an inky solitude that felt both terrifying and oddly comforting. During my time in this void, I encountered an experience that would forever change my understanding of existence. I was transported to what felt like a grand courtroom, ethereal and filled with light. As I stood there, confused and disoriented, I saw him, Jesus, radiant and powerful, beyond any description my earthly mind could fathom. His presence illuminated the very darkness I had felt surrounding me, and without a word, I knew I was about to witness something monumental. Jesus began to share truths with me, peeling back layers of deception that had consumed my understanding of faith and society. He revealed the intricacies of the spiritual war in which we are all unwitting participants. Amir, he said, the world is rife with hidden agendas devised by the elite, exploiting fear and ignorance to maintain their grip on the unsuspecting masses. It was a revelation that shook me to my core. I saw how cultures intertwine their beliefs with power, creating oppressive systems that stifle the very spirit of inquiry and love. I could feel the weight of those traditions, all the rules and expectations I had adhered to, crumbling around me. As each truth unraveled before my eyes, I witnessed the costs of blind obedience to these systems. Families torn apart by conflicting ideologies, communities misled by deceptive narratives. Everything I had taken for granted now stood before me as a reflection of a greater struggle for truth and spiritual awakening. I felt an urgency to act, to fight back against the forces that sought to keep us shackled. I realized that it was not enough to gain this knowledge for myself. I needed to share it, to become a voice for those still trapped in their own cycles of deception and fear. Suddenly, I awoke in the hospital, my heart racing, filled with the intensity of what I had just experienced. The sterile room felt foreign, yet I was imbued with a sense of purpose that I couldn't shake off. The encounter with Jesus had opened my eyes to the realities of our world, to the spiritual war we must confront. I understood that my life's work as a prosecutor now had a new dimension. I was determined to spread the truth I had learned, navigating the complexities of my faith and identity while seeking to awaken others to their own truths, the truths that could liberate them from the shadows of deception. The fight for enlightenment had only just begun, and I was ready to stand against the tide, armed with the revelations that had forever changed me. Upon waking, I was met with harsh rejection from my family and community, a reality I had not anticipated. I'm Amir, a state prosecutor, a title that had once filled me with pride, but now felt like a heavy burden. The moment I opened my eyes after my near-death experience, I realized the world around me had shifted irreversibly. While I had encountered Jesus and received profound revelations about the spiritual war we are all embroiled in, my return to reality was marred by the judgment awaiting me. My family viewed my newfound beliefs as a betrayal, branding me a heretic for daring to seek a truth that challenged the traditions we had always held dear. The pain of their rejection cut deep, as did the betrayal from friends and colleagues who once celebrated my achievements. The whispers followed me wherever I went, questions about my faith, implications that I had strayed from the righteous path. I felt the weight of their disdain hanging over me like a dark cloud, and guilt gnawed at my insides, forcing me to question if I was truly on the right path. Each day became a struggle to reconcile my spiritual awakening with the remnants of my past. Would it always be this way? Could I ever find a balance between my devotion to the law and the calling I felt from Jesus? As the days turned into weeks, I found myself increasingly isolated. I tried to reach out to my family, to explain the profound changes within me, but my words only deepened the rift. They saw me as an outsider, a man who had discarded his faith for a fleeting epiphany. I was longing for their understanding, yet every explanation I offered was met with skepticism and anger. The very spiritual war one had been shown began to manifest right in my family, as fear and misunderstanding clashed against the light of revelation. My heart ached as I witnessed the barriers of belief grow higher, isolating me further from those I once loved. Amidst the emotional turmoil, I sought solace in the small community I had discovered during my journey, individuals who, like me, had faced their own awakenings. Together, we formed a bond built on shared experiences of confronting the hidden agendas that plagued our lives. In these gatherings, I felt a sense of belonging I hadn't experienced since my transformation began. We discussed the larger implications of our revelations, how the elite used deception to manipulate truths that kept the masses subdued. We recognized that this battle was not just personal. It stretched far beyond our individual lives, intertwining with the very fabric of society itself. Every meeting ignited a fire within me, an urgency to take action. The truths we uncovered filled me with a relentless drive to spread awareness about the spiritual war that so many remained oblivious to. I could no longer stand by as families were fractured, communities divided, and individuals suffered under the weight of deceit. Yet, as my resolve grew stronger, so did the weight of my family's rejection and the fear that I might lose them forever. Still, I pressed on, determined to stay the course of my awakening. Just as Jesus had shown me the path to liberation, I knew I had to help others find their way through the darkness. And with every step I clung to the hope that one day my family would join me in the light, understanding that the truth spoken in love could heal even the deepest of wounds. Seeking truth, I delved into reading the Bible in secret, feeling the need to uncover what my heart was yearning for. I'm Amir, a state prosecutor in Chicago, and for years, I had kept my struggles under wraps, afraid of the consequences of expressing doubts about the faith I had always been taught to uphold. The pressure of societal and familial expectations pressed down on me like a vice. Every day, I wore the mask of confidence in the courtroom, but inside I was fighting an emotional battle that isolated me from those around me. The more I tried to fit into the mold molded by tradition, the more I felt like I was losing a piece of my true self. During the quiet moments late at night, I would open the Bible, seeking to make sense of my turmoil. With each verse I read, I experienced a mix of fascination and apprehension. The stories of faith began to resonate with my own experiences, stirring feelings that had long been dormant. I also turned to online testimonies of those transformed by their encounters with Jesus. Their stories lit a spark of hope within me, offering glimpses of a truth that transcended any teachings I had known. It was comforting to hear how faith had reshaped their lives, allowing them to break free from the chains of deception that the elite so skillfully wove into the fabric of society. In this pursuit of truth, I discovered a small but supportive community online. They were individuals who had been through their own awakenings, and their encouragement gave me the courage to explore my spiritual journey without as much fear. Each shared experience fostered a sense of belonging I had desperately sought, but had never believed I could find amidst my cultural and religious norms. As I listened to their testimonies, I began to feel a burgeoning sense of liberation, realizing I wasn't alone in my struggle against the hidden agendas that manipulated our spirituality and societal structures. The tension between my new beliefs and traditional expectations continued to rise, especially as I sought to integrate my newfound understanding into my daily life. I witnessed firsthand how the spiritual war manifested around me. Conversations grew heated among colleagues regarding recent cases, often revealing how easily fear could be manipulated to control the narrative. I saw the deception that caused division, knowing that the truths I had uncovered could help heal these rifts, but the fear of backlash kept me silent. The desire to speak out against the spiritual manipulation and advocate for authenticity pushed against my internalized fears. Each day was a wrestling match within my soul. Yet with every challenge, I could feel the strength of my awakening growing deeper. I resolved to step boldly into my role within this new community, knowing that sharing these revelations was a vital part of my journey. The truth carried a weight that demanded to be spoken, not buried under the weight of expectation. The urgency of this mission filled me with purpose. I felt compelled to bridge the gap between tradition and enlightenment. As I prepared to embrace this calling, I held on to the hope that, through my journey, others might find their paths illuminated as well. The fight for authenticity was just beginning, and I was determined to confront the forces of deception, guided by the light of truth that Jesus had revealed to me, ready to share it with a world in desperate need of awakening. As I began to recognize that my spiritual experience served a greater purpose, I felt an undeniable calling to break my silence and share the revelations about the spiritual battle I had witnessed. I'm Amir Al-Mahd, a state prosecutor in Chicago, and the revelations I received during my near-death experience with Jesus turned my world upside down. The clarity that emerged from that experience illuminated the deception that had long plagued my understanding of the world. It was a calling I could no longer ignore, despite the risks involved. The fear of personal harm loomed over me, but the urgency to shed light on the hidden agendas that sought to manipulate my community was far more pressing. Returning to my life after that encounter, I felt the weight of Jesus' words resonate in my heart. The spiritual war we face is more than a metaphor. It's a reality that binds us all. In those terrifying moments before my accident, I had begun to perceive the strings pulled by the elite, those who craft narratives that serve their interests while oppressing the masses. I realized that my duty extended beyond the courtroom. I could no longer represent a system steeped in deception while knowing the truth that lay hidden beneath its surface. I had witnessed the fractures within our society, the divisions that kept us from unity, and I could no longer stand idly by. In the weeks that followed, I began to speak out. I reached out to my colleagues, afraid of how they would react, but also desperate to share what I had experienced. The moment I mentioned the spiritual awakening I had undergone, I felt the collective apprehension in the room. They listened, but the skepticism was palpable. Some dismissed my experience as a phase, while others looked at me with barely concealed disdain. The labels of heretic and traitor were thrown around, yet I pressed on, driven by the hope that one voice could spark a larger movement toward truth. My awakening was more than just my personal journey. It was about enlightening those around me. I sought out groups, both online and in person, where others shared their experiences of transformation. Together, we began to connect the dots. The ways in which manipulation and control had influenced not just our lives but the very fabric of society. Our gatherings pulsed with energy as we shared the revelations we had each received, creating a tapestry woven from the threads of hope, struggle, and awakening. Our collective truth became a powerful force against the deception that had kept us shackled. Amidst this newfound community, I still wrestled with the pain of my family's rejection. I dreamed of reconciling with them, of sharing the understanding I had gained through my experiences. I knew they remained entrenched in their beliefs, unable to see beyond the veil that bound them. Yet I held on to the hope that one day, they might understand that my awakening was not a rejection of our heritage but a deeper embrace of truth. I prepared myself for the challenging road ahead, bolstered by the strength of those around me. Each step I took in this fight for truth was a step toward liberation for myself and my community, as I endeavored to shine a light on the spiritual war that we all face together. Embracing courage, I decided it was time to leave behind my home and former life. My name is Amir, and as a state prosecutor in Chicago, I had once been a respected figure within my community. Yet the more I delved into my spiritual journey after that near-death experience, the more I realized that the life I had built was increasingly constricting. The moment when Jesus illuminated my path had opened my eyes to the spiritual war raging around us, a battle fueled by hidden agendas and deceit that had infiltrated every aspect of our society. I felt a profound calling to embark on a journey toward freedom, not just physically, but spiritually. The decision to leave was not made lightly. I had a career, a family, and a life that many would consider successful. But beneath the surface, I was drowning in doubt and discontent. Each day spent conforming to the expectations of my role felt like a betrayal of my own awakening. The weight of tradition pressed down on me like a shroud, suffocating the authentic self I longed to embrace. As I packed my belongings, a mixture of fear and exhilaration coursed through me. I was stepping into the unknown, yet it was a step I felt compelled to take. Once I arrived in a new city, the world seemed to open up before me. I felt the weight of my past lift, allowing me to breathe freely for the first time in years. During this transition, my heart yearned for a deeper connection with Jesus. I sought out a private place to be baptized in secrecy, a sacred act marking my commitment to this new faith. The water felt cool against my skin, a refreshing reminder of my rebirth and the vows I was making to follow the truth that had been revealed to me. In that moment, I knew that my mission to share the gospel wouldn't just be about my experience. It was about awakening others to the same truths that had set me free. As I began to immerse myself in this community of fellow seekers, I felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. We shared our stories of awakening and discussed the implications of the spiritual war we were all fighting. I learned from others who had faced similar struggles, navigating the complexities of leaving behind a life entrenched in deception. These conversations were potent reminders of how powerful our shared experiences could be in illuminating the truth. Together, we exchanged ideas about the unseen forces manipulating our beliefs and fostering division, breaking down the barriers constructed by the elite. The fight for truth became not only my personal mission, but a collective endeavor. The urgency of this spiritual awakening echoed in every meeting, pushing us to confront the systemic deceptions around us. I understood that our strength lay in our unity, that sharing our experiences could help others break free from the chains of fear that held them captive. With each person I encountered, I felt the fire of purpose reignite within me, an assurance that the path of awakening, however daunting, was worth every sacrifice. I was ready to step boldly into this new chapter of my life, driven to spread the message of love, redemption, and truth. A mission set forth by Jesus that promised to transform not just my life, but the lives of countless others yearning for liberation. Amir began to create a new community where I could share my message of hope and love, connecting with like-minded individuals who resonated with my transformed faith. After experiencing that life-altering revelation during my near-death experience, I felt an overwhelming compulsion to reach out and find others on similar paths. It was evident that many were grappling with their own doubts and fears, trapped in the confines of traditional beliefs that stifled their spirits. The desire to foster an environment of support became my guiding principle, and I sought to establish a space where authentic conversations about faith could flourish. Finding those individuals was not easy, but I persevered. I began attending meetings in cafes and community centers, sharing my story and listening to others. Each encounter felt like a step closer to building a sanctuary for the lost and the weary. The stories I heard mirrored my own struggles, each testimony revealing the layers of deception that kept us from embracing our true selves. In these gatherings, we spoke openly about the spiritual war we were engaged in, how the hidden agendas of the elite aimed to manipulate our beliefs, sowing division and distrust among us. As we connected, I saw a sense of relief wash over those who had felt isolated in their journeys. Many expressed gratitude for a space where they could openly discuss their faith without judgment. It was beautiful to witness people awakening to the truth that Jesus had shared with me. I emphasized that awakening isn't just an individual journey, but a collective one, where each of us has a role to play in dismantling the walls that have kept us apart. The more we shared, the more I felt a renewed sense of purpose and urgency to spread this message beyond our group. I didn't just want to be a part of the conversation. I wanted to lead a movement rooted in love, acceptance, and truth. I envisioned community events where people could explore spiritual concepts, gain knowledge, and support one another through their journeys. We held gatherings focused on the teachings of Jesus, exploring the revelations of love, compassion, and the power of truth to conquer deception. I felt that these gatherings were the heart of our awakening, a place where transformation was possible and healing could begin. Yet, while I felt embraced by this new community, the specter of rejection from my family and the outside world loomed large. I continued to grapple with fear regarding my past and what it would mean to fully step into my new identity. Compulsion and doubt repeatedly tugged at my resolve, but witnessing the changes in those around me fueled my determination. The encouragement I received reassured me that I was on the right path, even if it meant leaving behind those who could not understand. The contrast between the freedom I found in openness and the weight of my past experiences crystallized my mission: to fight diligently for truth in the midst of a spiritual war that affects us all. I was ready to face the challenges ahead, knowing deep down that my greatest strength lay in the awakening of collective consciousness. Years later, I find myself living among missionaries, deeply impacted by the journey I undertook after my awakening. I'm Amir, and my life has transformed in ways I could have never imagined after that fateful encounter with Jesus during my near-death experience. The moments spent in his presence reshaped my beliefs and ignited a fire within me to share the truth I had been shown. Now, surrounded by this new community, I feel a sense of purpose and belonging that I had long sought. Each day, I strive to impact the lives of those around me, guiding them through their own spiritual wars and awakening. The connection I've forged with the missionaries has been profound. Together, we share testimonies of healing and redemption, reminding each other that the path to freedom is often fraught with challenges. Each story resonates at a deeper level, echoing the struggles of those who have felt the burden of tradition weighing heavily on their souls. I lead discussions, urging others to confront the hidden agendas that manipulate our beliefs and drive divisions. My own revelations have taught me that these deceptions extend beyond individual experiences. They infect the very essence of society. Whether in the courtroom or in the pulpit, the truth must prevail. Yet even as I thrive in this environment, my heart aches for reconciliation with my family. I think back to the life I left behind, my loved ones, entrenched in the traditions that once felt so paramount. I wish they could see the light that I now carry, the truth that Jesus revealed to me. I often pray for the courage to reach out, to bridge the growing chasm between us. The fear of rejection still lingers. What if they never understand the transformation I've undergone? The thought of their disappointment cuts deep, but so does the drive to share the hope and love I've found. In conversations with fellow missionaries, I often reflect on the current state of the world. We discuss the pervasive threats that loom over our society, the manipulation by the elite, the deception embedded in our media, and the wars that rage both externally and within. It becomes evident that our generation is faced with a pivotal moment. Our collective awakening is essential in dismantling the structures designed to suppress the truth. I feel a growing urgency to share this message not only with my new community, but also to find a way back to my original society, to offer hope to those who might still be caught in spiritual bondage. With every encounter and every story shared, I know that the battle for truth is ongoing. Each life touched becomes a testament to the power of awakening, reinforcing my resolve to stand for what is right. The lessons I have learned compel me to advocate for love, compassion, and understanding, countering the forces of division that threaten to tear us apart. I am committed to being a beacon of light in a world rife with deception, reminding others that we are never truly alone in this spiritual war. My heart beats with the hope that one day the truth will unite us all, setting free those still yearning for liberation. As I navigate this path of faith, I embrace the journey, ready to face whatever lies ahead, trusting that God will illuminate the way. Now that you've journeyed with me through the shadows, I have to ask, what is it that stirs within you? Have you ever felt glimpses of a reality beyond the one you know? A thread of spiritual truth, tugging at your heart, urging you to question, to awaken. The battle I encountered during my near-death experience, a profound revelation shared with me by Jesus, reveals a landscape filled with hidden manipulations, and it is calling for warriors of truth. I returned not just to share my story, but to ignite a collective awakening among us. The world is filled with chaos, orchestrated by unseen hands, and we are all integral players in this spiritual war. You too have a role in this grand tapestry of existence. Let's heed the call to rise together, reclaim our divine inheritance, and seek the light amidst the darkness. What steps will you take to navigate your own spiritual journey? I'm eager to hear your thoughts, your questions, and your experiences in the comments below. You're not alone in this fight. Your voice matters. But before you go, I invite you to be part of a community that seeks truth, understanding, and spiritual growth. Subscribe to Truth from Beyond and activate the notification bell. This isn't just about following a channel. It's about standing together as we uncover revelations that can change the course of our lives. In the next video, we will delve even deeper into another compelling testimony of awakening, one that will challenge the status quo and inspire you to find the courage hidden within. Together, we can illuminate this path towards truth. I'm Amir, and I felt the urgency to share this with you. Remember, every heartbeat is a call to awaken. Are you ready to answer it?